In our episode of Letters of Africa, Nigerian author and Romanist Ade Abitrician Wabani says scenes reminiscent a coup in her nation include leftward lot clawing their heads. Nigerians yet can't say for certainly why gunmen, disguised men detained our nation's parliament by siege recent 1 week. But the worrisome occurrence had a largest joyful end. They locked all entrances to the house, denial lawmakers, civilian service staff and journalists accessing. It rotated out they were operatives of the country's spy agent, the Division of Country Safety, DSS, led by Lawal Dora. This man at the center of the AMD is Sinead CEO Bukola Sariki, who newly defected of the governing APC side to the major opposition PDP. He had named a parliament meet of domestic gathering leaders, and it was the team how the gunman men were block. One theoretical is how it was a powerful arm tactics to do Mr. Sariki abandon so how the APC can designate a governing side Sinead CEO in his location. This theoretical is how it was all staged to do it seem as if it was formally authorized to do the by the government C4. No one theoretical stands up to logic study, but you should never let whatever surprise party while it comes to the antics of Nigerian policy. In April, a unhappy MP supposedly organized for intruders to tempest the Sinead and rob its wand. Decisions in the top camera cannot be adopted out of the wand, a big decorative personnel how represents the legislative body's credibility. But while news story distribution of the events recent 1 week, consisting videos of irate lawmakers in confronting in the gunman country operatives, though Nigerians pronounced their conviction. CEO Muhammadu Buhari was off in the UK on holiday, outgoing his vice Yemi Osinbajo in accusation. Ade Abitrician Wabani, anything on Yemi Osinbajo excites the normal sitcom how Nigerians include go to weight of our leaders. Nigeria is a democratic state not a war dictator, told Atiku Abubakar, a ex-defect president and PDP president encouraging. This operating CEO, creature oneself a prof of act, ought to aware how installation such a precedence is an invite to anarchism. And really it was Mr. Osinbajo who became the character of the date. Not just is Mr. Osinbajo a prof of law and a ex-commissar for judiciary, he is perhaps one of the largest prominent leaders to include grace the Nigerian chair of force in the history few many decades. For starters, anything on him excites the normal sitcom how Nigerians include go to weight of our leaders. His education qualifications are out of suspect. His leg does not get sandwiched in his jaw every period he speaks. He has no named girlfriends sporting ostentatious cars and dubious contracts about the equity town, Abuja. He has no named cadavers smelly in his sideboard. Mr. Osinbajo has though been heard to apologize following inbound deceased at events. The common Nigerian social office space mounts personality importance can normally be measurable by how length they can hold human beings' weight. And the defect president did not frustrate. Time the siege was continuing, he liberated a declaration condemning it as condemnable and fully inappropriate. Later he announced the instant exemption of Mr. Dora, and the disguised men were withdrawn to their den. Once again, Nigerians can't say for certainly if Mr. Dora was just a whipping boy for an unsuccessful coup, or if he was really operating out of president credibility, reasoned by his customer loyalty to Mr. Buhari, his relative of the countryside of Dora in Katsina country, polar western Nigeria. Yet, I pledged you a lucky end, didn't I? Lot Nigerians sense how if it took the siege on parliament to be eventually rid of the spy head, later hooray. In 2015, the sexagenarian was exhumed of resignation and equipped to chief the DSS. In the history 3 year of Mr. Dora's management, the agent has been characterized by stroke of midnight arrests on such suspected of corrupt practices, contempt for trial orders, arrest of a reporter out of test, and the disturbing of lawmakers at a Fed and country standard. Lot Nigerians afraid how as he came of Mr. Buhari's hometown it had done him inviolable. We had obedient ourselves to the continuing horror. Yet, as the proverb goes, he whom the gods desire to kill, they at first do crazy. The insanity how Mr. Dora seemed to screen by launch the siege has now led to his shameful drop. On the operating Seige's orders, Mr. Dora was detained and, though liberated a few days after, his certificate was withdrawn. Mr. Osinbajo outlined his antics as a total infringement of constitution, procedure, guideline of law and all recognized notions of law and procedure. Mr. Dora has yet to put his party of events. But lot Nigerians are now hoping how he will include how prospect in trial. Which and though more than joyful end how would be, and one how follows the guideline of act.